Apps can do a lot of cool things. You could order dinner, gamble on your favorite team, and track your health. You could even get a mortgage. One click and you can be approved. I'm not sure by who or what country they're in. You deserve more from the mortgage industry. At AnyMac Home Mortgage, we believe in the need for live human interaction during a very complex process. The kind of service and guidance which an app simply can't provide. Our customers are more than credit scores and income documents. They're individuals and families who live in and strengthen our communities. Their story is our story, and that story begins in a home. Chris Sawyer is an expert on providing superior customer service and in meeting the mortgage needs of current and future homebuyers. With over 18 years of experience in the industry, Chris is able to help customers migrate through the home buying and home financing process by using his wealth of knowledge as a well-qualified mortgage professional. And best of all, Chris is located in Cromwell, Connecticut, where he has helped hundreds of clients in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island make their dreams of homeownership a reality. Visit chrissawyer.any-mac.com. Email him at csawyer@any-mac.com or give him a call, 860-878-8730.
Chris Sawyer, NMLS number 39345, corporate NMLS number 338923. AnyMac Home Mortgage is an equal housing lender. American Neighborhood Mortgage Acceptance Company, LLC, DBA AnyMac Home Mortgage. Lo-Fi Direct. Connecticut First Mortgage Correspondent, License Lender, Broker Number ML 338923. Massachusetts Mortgage Lender and Mortgage Broker License Number MC 338923. Rhode Island License Lender, License Number 201128110L. Call for additional details.
Throwing jabs, always full send. Here we go again. Jared, Joe, and Jay's Clover Crest, top three corner man, punching in with a puncher's chance. We find a way to win. The main event, lock it in every Saturday at 10. The overhand is out of hand when it comes to fisticuffs. Slide a hand on the undercard, you'll never see the punch. Uppercut got you missing weight, feet are stepping late. Keep your guard up, feeling faint from a feint. Take a standing eight, then retaliate. Put up your duke, stick and move, bob and weave. Don't lose hope against the ropes, there's always an escape. Never stay down. One more round, bells ringing, counter punch with your chin tucked and go down swinging. We bringing crosses with no worship, hooks with no verses, combinations with no locks. When you feel the flurry of curtains, from scrub scraps to fight stats, relax if you want the facts, cause the best combat podcast is Throwing Jabs.
Welcome to the Throwing Jabs podcast. I'm Joe McGuire along with Jared Jones, part of the CMG Sports Network. Jared, we got a great bunch of fights we got to talk about going forward, but before we do that, we're going to go backwards to last weekend where Nate Diaz, man, I saw this coming a mile away when this thing got reshuffled. A very winnable fight against Tony Ferguson, who he beat in the fourth round via submission. And if this was his farewell fight, he went out in style.
Well, and it should be. It should be because he went out in style. We don't need to see what would happen with him and Chimaev, I don't think.
We'll talk about that fight in a minute too, because that was crazy. But, you know, listen, here's my thing about Nate Diaz. I like this guy a lot. My brother hates him. My brother thinks Nate Diaz is everything that's wrong with the sport.
Oh, yeah, it's funny because this, as I've said before on the show, this is a guy that I told my wife I like the Diaz brothers, and she went, that's the opposite of all the other guys you like. And so, and over the decade, I've been forced to think about that a little bit, and it's because he's real, I think. It's because every other time you see that, Conor McGregor's putting on a show. Robbie Lawler was putting on a show. A lot of these guys are out there playing the tough guy. Kevin Holland, that's not you. I hope you're not
Clearly
like that at the dinner table with your family. Like, come on, man. I sure hope not. Nate Diaz, I believe that he brushes his teeth like that. Yeah. You know, just mean. Yeah. Just,
Funny, I actually saw a video somebody took on Twitter. People were it was like a Burger King or something, and these two dudes start shoving each other, and everybody looked up. They were just playing around. They were like wrestling in like a Burger King or a Taco Bell. Yeah, I think that's the way they are. That's the way they behave. Tony was especially upset, Jared, because Nate was like blowing pot smoke or something. And when they were weighing in, I think something like that, he was saying, although You
I
could
don't
do
know
that now,
anything
though.
about that.
Yeah. Anyway, listen, great fight by Nate Diaz. Tony Ferguson, meanwhile, he might want to follow Nate off into the sunset. Clearly, and I mean, made the call going, and you agree with me. Tony Ferguson is a finished fighter, and I don't think there's anybody in that division right now in the top 20 that he could beat.
Oh, yeah, as shot as they come. Yeah, he needs to be on the Mike Tyson, Roy Jones undercard for the.
Oh, boy, where this guy was like 3 years ago to now. Unbelievable. You know, again, you're talking a few years ago, talking about fighting Khabib, and a few fights fell through, and here we are a few years later. He's in no man's land.
What was the start of this? Wow, I'd like to go back and see some Throw and Jab podcast clips of the start of this demise, because if my memory serves me correctly, I said he was fighting one of the most dynamic fighters in the UFC, to which you both gasped, you and Jace, and that he was never going to be the same after that fight. Wasn't that the Charles Oliveira fight? Didn't that start this mess of just Gaethje was before
the Gaethje fight? The Gaethje fight is definitely what started it, because that was a disgusting beating. Now, I thought, because it's Tony Ferguson, El Kakui, tough guy, I thought he's going to kind of be fine. Yeah, he got obliterated by Oliveira and everybody since. Yeah. Meanwhile, let's talk about the fight that, to me, actually mattered last weekend. Khamzat Chimaev was on Kevin Holland like white on rice. He came quick. He submitted Holland fast. You know, you just sort of alluded to Kevin Holland's personality, and my concern here when they started mixing and matching all these guys was, could you have found a worse opponent for Kevin Holland than maybe the best wrestler in the sport?
This guy is an animal. Holland didn't belong there. Diaz didn't belong there. This guy's an animal. And I don't understand why we're signing fights like that for this guy. Those are jokes to me. Those are the only thing that's a bigger joke than this guy fighting Holland and Diaz and signing these fights that don't make any sense is missing weight. If you can fight in this weight class,
yeah,
do it. If you can't, like sign the fights for a bigger weight. I don't understand being at this level and missing weight, because I don't know what you are. Now I don't know who you are. I don't know where to rank you. I don't know where you go. You can't miss weight. You have to be the same size as the other guys that are that size. It's part of the program.
That was
weight.
That was
shame. I have missed weight.
Yeah, disastrous. I think the way UFC 279 was handled. Dana White says it'll never happen again, and I think that's probably in large part due to Nate Diaz going bye-bye. So we'll see what happens. But great fights, great fight card. I really enjoyed last weekend a lot. We will be previewing this weekend's fights, and there's not only a UFC fight night, but a pretty big trilogy. We'll get to that in a minute. But first, Jared, some headlines. Some confirmed fights finally happening. Fights we wanted to see, including Katie Taylor headlining Wembley Arena on October 29th. A place where she's needed to fight. And as she hits the twilight of her career here, this is going to be an insane. We've seen what fighting has been like in England recently. They're really embracing it, especially with the Queen dying.
Oh, something happened to Clarissa Shields. What is she's the ignorance reigns over there. Yeah, sad, and I wish that the Savannah Marshall and Shields fight had went on without a hitch, but I understand them paying respects. And this is going to be a good way to top back off. That said, Katie Taylor's kind of taking a gimme here. She's undefeated, but there's losing record. The last girl she fought, 2 wins, no losses, 2 draws. Then 10-8, 2-3, 7-8-4, 7-1, 7-0, 8-20, 7-8. Like half of the people you fought in your last 8 fights have losing records.
This is very much designed for Katie Taylor to beat the bejesus out of somebody in front of a sold-out Wembley.
Well, and that's fair because when you talk about mileage on a fighter, that last fight with Serrano,
oh, good Lord.
Ooh, that was a banger. Yeah, you can. This girl's undefeated and tough, so you can have that. You can have that, Katie. You earned it. Yeah, that Serrano fight was serious. And
more great news for the big boy British boxing. Anthony Joshua's accepted terms for a fight with Tyson Fury on December 3rd. Those terms are probably that he's going to get his face beat in again. This doesn't seem right to me at all that Anthony Joshua should be fighting Tyson Fury. He certainly hasn't earned it. My brother sent me something earlier. I think the WBA or the WBC, who had not had Anthony Joshua ranked at all, has put him into the number 6 slot so that they can justify making this ridiculous fight.
Just cause.
Yeah.
Just cause. No. Oh, goodness. This is bad. This is like me and Joel. You know, stronger, more durable. He can't bang with me and win. And he's not going to outbox me and outpoint me and win. It's like, what's the path to victory for Anthony Joshua here?
Right.
If you're in his corner, what are you telling him to do? Stay behind the jab, abandon the jab and move to E. Corner this guy and oh God. No, they're all bad ideas. There's no path to victory for Anthony Joshua.
Funny, I was saying to Tony, we all love Alexander Usyk. We also are big Tyson Fury fans. It's going to be an interesting matchup whenever that happens. And the question was, can Alexander Usyk, who's undersized, and Tony talks about Evander Holyfield and guys like that. And sure, look, it's possible, but what we didn't see from Joshua against Usyk was the ability to use his body and his size to bully that guy. Tyson Fury is going to give Anthony Joshua a lesson in boxing, and he's going to show him how you use your weight. But at the same time, another loss virtually ends Anthony Joshua's career here. It's a tough lesson to learn.
Now, I had said with the Usyk fight that if he trades with him, he loses. That Usyk can win that fight, trading punches, just going and see who the tougher guy is. And he also can't outbox Usyk. So I didn't really see a path to victory there. Now, if you're not going to outbox Usyk, not that he's not a better boxer than Fury, but you're not going to outbang. You can't, like, there's no path to victory. I can't wait to see when the lines come out because they ought to be about 12-1. This should be something ridiculous for Tyson Fury because I don't see a way to win. This guy took Wilder. Wilder's a heavier hitter, right? He got up from that. There's nobody that can hit this guy hard enough to put him out. And Joshua, oh man, this is an accident waiting to happen.
Yeah, this is not a good fight for Anthony Joshua. It's not a good fight for the sport. It's great if you're in the United Kingdom. This is going to be a great fight for that. But if you live in the United States, you are going to get a great fight. Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford have agreed to terms for a potential November 19th mega fight. This is the one we've all been wanting and waiting for. Here's the funny thing. Look no further than Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder and the mega fight that would have brought those guys hundreds of millions of dollars in a fight and a rematch. These two dummies have been doing this idiotic dance for years now.
Building the suspense.
Listen, not for nothing, but I mean, Errol Spence nearly died without ever having the chance to prove he's the better fighter than Terence Crawford. Like, that should have been and given him every reason to be like, you know what? Sign the goddamn papers. Let's make this fight happen. I do think he's a little bit scared. I do think that he is much more of a head case, Errol Spence. I think Terence Crawford, I love Terence Crawford. He's my favorite boxer. I think he's the best human being in combat sports. He's better than Dustin Poirier. It's hard to be a better guy than Terence Crawford is. He's a supportive and caring and loving guy. If Terence Crawford were to lose to Errol Spence, he'll be fine. Errol Spence will emotionally be destroyed in this fight. And I firmly believe Terence Crawford wins this.
I've gone back and forth with this fight. I think Bud Crawford's the better guy, but when I watch the film, the better boxer, the straighter punches. Spence Jr., this goes to decision. Today, we got a lot of time between now and November 19th. Today, I'm taking Spence by decision.
I like it. Okay. I've got Crawford by a 10th round stoppage. But we'll talk more about this between today and November the 19th.
Arrow without a quiver.
All right. We will take a quick break. And we will do our tale of the tape. First, we'll focus in on UFC Fight Night, Sandhagen versus Yadong. That's next on the Throwing Jabs podcast.
There's no bigger investment than home ownership. And to make sure the house is up to your standards, you need a professional to look it over. Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections is a licensed home inspector and a member of the Connecticut Association of Home Inspectors. Brian was a contractor for over 15 years, so he knows how homes should be constructed and how mechanicals should work.
What makes me a good home inspector was the 20 years that I was a home improvement person, doing all the different repairs that I have done and what other people have done wrong that I had to go out and fix. So I have a pretty quick eye on seeing what's right and what's wrong. Before you move, call Shamrock Home Inspections.
Before you make the biggest investment of your life, call Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections at 860-268-2566 or visit shamrockhomeinspectionct.com.
Saturday Night Live from the Apex, it's UFC Vegas 60, Sandhagen versus Yadong, featuring a main event between bantamweight contenders Cory Sandhagen and Song Yadong. Let's break it down. Cory Sandhagen is 30 years old. He's 5'11" with a 70-inch reach and a record of 14-4 with 6 knockouts and 3 submissions. From Aurora, Colorado, Sandhagen, a natural athlete, played basketball growing up, but at 17 switched his attention to kickboxing, a sport in which he won the Colorado State Championship, the WKA North American Championship, and the WKA World Title. After graduating from the University of Colorado Boulder, he made his MMA debut in May of 2015 with a first-round rear naked choke. In February of 2017, he made his debut in the LFA promotion, dropping a unanimous decision to Jamal Emmers. He bounced back later that year, scoring 2 first-round knockouts before making his UFC debut on January 27, 2018, with a second-round knockout of Austin Arnett. After an armbar submission of Mario Batista, he had his first serious test as a pro, winning a close split decision over crafty veteran John Lineker. 4 months later, with a title shot in sight, he was quickly pounced on and submitted via rear naked choke by future champion Aljamain Sterling. And 5 months later, he headlined his first UFC event, putting on a masterclass against Marlon Moraes before stopping him in round 2 with a stylish spinning wheel kick followed by ground and pound. In February of 2021, he took on former lightweight champion Frankie Edgar
knocking the UFC legend out cold with a vicious flying knee 28 seconds into the first round. In his next fight, he headlined UFC Fight Night in July of 2021, taking on former two-time bantamweight champion TJ Dillashaw, who was making his long-awaited return following a suspension for PEDs. And despite landing some vicious strikes and opening a nasty cut over Dillashaw's right eye, he lost a close split decision, with 17 out of 23 media outlets scoring it in favor of Sandhagen. On October 30th, 2021, he took on former champion Peter Yan for the interim bantamweight title, putting on a thrilling slugfest, which earned the Fight of the Night honors, though he ultimately fell short, dropping a second straight decision loss, which saw him suffer a spinning fist knockdown in the third round. A dynamic and rangy striker, Sandhagen is one of the most fluid strikers in the game, effortlessly flowing from orthodox to southpaw and using feints to set up his wide repertoire of strikes, and averages 6.4 strikes per minute, while boasting an impressive 67% takedown defense. Song Yadong is 24 years old. He's 5'8" with a 67-inch reach and a record of 19-6 with 8 knockouts and 3 submissions. From Heilongjiang, China, he was raised by a single mother who enrolled him in Santa classes at the age of 9, though he eventually transitioned over to MMA before making his professional debut at the age of 16 with a no contest due to an illegal groin strike. Over the next 4 years, he compiled a record of 11-5-1 with 5 knockouts before making his UFC debut in November of 2017 with a first-round guillotine choke of Bharat Kandare, which also earned him his first performance of the night bonus. 7 months later, he dropped down to bantamweight, scoring an impressive elbow knockout of Felipe Arantes, and followed that up with a dominant decision over Vince Morales before earning his third performance of the night with an explosive counter-right cross knockout of Alejandro Perez. In December of 2019, he fought Cody Stamann to a draw after being deducted a point for landing an illegal knee, but 5 months later moved back up to featherweight, earning his first Fight of the Night bonus with an exciting unanimous decision over Marlon Chito Vera. On March 6, 2021, he lost his first fight for the promotion when he dropped a close but highly entertaining decision to Kyler Phillips. He bounced back 3 months later with a very close split decision over Casey Kenneth and finished out the year with a knockout of Julio Arce, stunning him with a vicious head kick before finishing him with grounded pound. On March 12, 2022, he took on Marlon Moraes, earning his fourth performance of the night bonus when he knocked out the Brazilian with a brutal 3-punch combination 2 minutes into the first round. A dangerous pressure fighter, Song likes to walk his opponents down with leg and body kicks, and is an excellent counter striker who possesses explosive one-punch knockout power in both hands. Will the Kung Fu Monkey continue his rise into the top 10 with his constant pressure and explosive power? Or will the Sandman's fluid movement and dynamic striking prove too much as he tries to earn a title shot against old rival Aljamain Sterling? Tune in Saturday night to UFC Vegas 60, Sandhagen vs. Yadong, and let's find out.
All right, Jared. Cory Sandhagen, man, this guy about a year ago was all the talk in the bantamweight division. And all of a sudden, he's fighting Song Yadong, who's now looking to use this fight to propel himself and make a possible title run. I like Sandhagen. Obviously, the guy's got the length that most bantamweights don't have. Song Yadong doesn't have it, but I'll tell you what this guy has quietly done is really made a name for himself. He's looked absolutely fantastic. As the fights have gotten a little more impressive, he has absolutely held his own, where Cory Sandhagen has started to find the elite competition really since the Frankie Edgar fight. Each of these fights has been a little, again, he's put on great performances. I thought he won the Dillashaw fight. I can't even believe that one. But a loss is a loss, Jared. I'm concerned about Cory Sandhagen, and I don't think he wins this fight either.
Oh, I thought I'd be on my own. I totally agree with you. I'm taking Song Yadong. Oh, yeah.
People should know that you and I talk a ton during the week, and we never prep about the show. No prep at all. We show up and go.
No, well, and this was one of my picks on the last time. He went and knocked somebody out, Song Yadong, in his last fight. Killer knockout. Picked him. I think he was plus 225. He's plus money again, 180, I think. Take him again. I think he beats Sandhagen. I think this is one on the way up and one on the way down.
Boy, I'm telling you, this sport, speaking of Tony Ferguson, now Cory Sandhagen, Jairzinho Rozenstruik, it's amazing how you're there, and then all of a sudden you're like a secondary thought. Again, for Sandhagen to be fighting Song Yadong, I mean, he's almost kind of stepping into the role of the gatekeeper at this point.
This is an unforgiving game, man.
Cory Sandhagen is going to need to do one of those wheelhouse kicks or one of those flying knees to Yadong's dong, or he's going to need to do something spectacular if he wants to get back into the conversation at bantamweight. I said that, yes.
I've never taken a flying kick to Yadong, but I keep getting that old, hey, won't you play another somebody with Song Yadong somehow worked in there, but I can't get it. I'll work on it for next week.
All right. We've been talking about fights that were overdue. We've been talking about rematches and trilogies, and we've seen some great ones. One that we've been waiting for about 5 years is happening this weekend, and it's only happening because Canelo Alvarez decided to step up and wait, got humbled, and this fight makes the most sense. Saturday Night Live from the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas is the final trilogy between Canelo Alvarez and Gennadiy Golovkin in a 12-round super middleweight bout for Canelo's undisputed super middleweight championship. Let's break it down. Gennadiy Golovkin is 40 years old. He's 5'10" with a 70-inch reach and a record of 42-1-1 with 37 knockouts. From Karaganda, Kazakhstan, he was encouraged by his older brother to take up boxing at the age of 8 and began his amateur career at 11, winning gold medals in the junior and world championships, as well as a silver medal in the 2004 Athens Olympics, and compiling a record of 345-5 before turning pro in May of 2006 with a first-round knockout. Over the next 3 years, he went 18-0 with 15 knockouts before blowing out Milton Nunes in 58 seconds to win the WBA regular middleweight title. In hopes of becoming a household name, he signed with the Klitschko brothers' promotional company K2 and moved to Big Bear, California to train under Abel Sanchez. He then made 11 successful title defenses, all by stoppage, including knockouts of top contenders Kasim Ouma, Gabe Rosado, Matthew Macklin, and Curtis Stevens before taking on Mexico's Marco Antonio Rubio, breaking him down and working him before knocking him out in the second round with a devastating left hook to the forehead to claim the interim WBC middleweight title. He defended the belt twice with stoppages of Martin Murray and Willie Monroe before picking up the IBF title with an 8-round bludgeoning of hard-hitting David Lemieux in October of 2015. He defended those titles 3 times with a second-round knockout of Dominic Wade, an impressive 5th-round stoppage of welterweight champion Kell Brook, and after a wide unanimous decision over Danny Jacobs, he took on boxing superstar Canelo Alvarez, engaging in a highly tactical and hotly contested bout which resulted in a highly controversial split draw, despite virtually all media outlets scoring it in favor of Golovkin. Due to the controversy and highly competitive nature of the fight, a rematch was immediately scheduled, though ultimately postponed as a result of Alvarez receiving a 6-month suspension after twice testing positive for PEDs. After a quick 2-round demolition of Vanes Martirosyan, the pair met again in another tactical, closely contested, and ultimately controversial fight, as once again most of the media outlets scored it for Golovkin, but the judges ruled it a majority decision for Alvarez. In May of 2019, he signed a 6-fight, $100 million deal with DAZN in hopes of securing a trilogy fight with Alvarez, and after knocking out Steven Rolls with a thunderous left hook, he defeated Sergey Derevyachenko via close unanimous decision to reclaim the newly vacated IBF title. He returned a year later, demolishing Poland's Kamil Zermeta, scoring multiple knockdowns en route to a 7th-round stoppage, and in April of 2022 took on Japan's Ryoto Murata
breaking down the champion gradually before stopping it with a vicious right cross to pick up the WBA title just one day after his 40th birthday. A calculating and highly tactical boxer-puncher, Golovkin is known for his exceptional balance and footwork as well as possessing devastating one-punch knockout power in both hands and holds the middleweight record for title defenses at 22 and knockout ratio at 89%. Canelo Alvarez is 32 years old. He's 5'9" with a 70.5-inch reach and a record of 57-2-2 with 39 knockouts. Growing up in Guadalajara, Mexico, he followed his three older brothers into boxing at the age of 13, going on to medal in several Mexican junior national championships and finishing his amateur career with a record of 44-2. He turned pro at the age of 15 when trainer Eddie Reynoso became unable to find any more opponents to fight him. He went 32-0-1 before getting his first major exposure, knocking out Jose Cotto on the Mayweather-Mosley undercard. In his next fight, he won the WBC Silver Junior middleweight belt with a 6th-round knockout of Luciano Coelho, and followed that up with a brutal left-hook knockout of former welterweight champion Carlos Valdemir. He won the vacant regular WBC belt from Matthew Hatton and defended it 5 times before adding the WBA belt with a unanimous decision over Austin Trout in 2013. In his next fight, he lost his belts via majority decision to Floyd Mayweather, but quickly bounced back, tearing through the junior middleweight division with knockouts over Alfredo Angulo and James Kirkland before defeating Miguel Cotto by decision to claim the WBC middleweight title. After knocking out Amir Khan with a thunderous right cross and following that up with one-sided beatdowns of Liam Smith and Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., he took on Gennadiy Golovkin in an attempt to unify the middleweight division. After 12 intense but evenly matched rounds, the fight was ruled a draw, and when the pair rematched the following year, it was much of the same, with Alvarez pulling out a majority decision after another 12-round slugfest. Unable to unify the division, he set his sights on the weak super middleweight division, knocking out Rocky Fielding with a body shot, and after a brief foray into light heavyweight to knock out Sergey Kovalev for the WBO belt, he returned to super middleweight, winning the WBA and WBC titles with a unanimous decision over Callum Smith. He followed it up with a one-sided blowout of the hapless Avni Yildirim, and in May of 2021 added the WBO belt with an 8th-round stoppage of Billy Joe Saunders, putting on a masterful performance and fracturing his orbital bone before Saunders' team threw in the towel. 6 months later, he became the unified champion when he up to light heavyweight a second time to challenge WBA champion Dmitry Bivol. However, despite being a heavy favorite, he found himself thoroughly outboxed by the Russian, who used double and triple jabs to keep the smaller Alvarez at distance or out to his first loss in 9 years. A defensive specialist with exceptional footwork and head movement, Alvarez also possesses phenomenal power and is perhaps the finest counterpuncher in the sport today. Can Alvarez utilize his dazzling hand speed and head movement to put a definitive end to this thrilling trilogy and reestablish himself as one of the best pound-for-pound of the sport? Or will the thunderous power and immense pressure of Triple G prove to be too much as he seeks revenge and tries to stake his claim as the most dominant middleweight of his era? Tune in Saturday night to Canelo Alvarez versus Gennadiy Golovkin 3, and let's find out.
All right, Jared, Canelo, Triple G, the trilogy. I think Golovkin, to be honest, win both fights. I also thought Bivol beat Canelo like 9-3. This guy gets decisions like nobody else does. Maybe the only guy who gets more decisions and got one against him even is Floyd Mayweather. Doesn't matter what he does. Just has to show up and he gets a decision. This is going to be a great fight. Listen, Golovkin is 40 years old now. This fight, unfortunately, 5 years in the making. He's an older guy now. Canelo's still kind of in his prime here. It's a little unfortunate for Triple G, but something tells me, Jared, deep down, this guy is 1,000,000% due. And I think Golovkin pulls it out.
He is a plus 400 underdog, a 4-1 dog This is the puncher's chance. You heard it here first. Triple G hands Canelo back-to-back losses. Listen, I'm with you in him winning the other fights. I'm with you with Canelo losing 9-3. And 4-1 to a guy that came away with draws and gave him the type of fights. And listen, we talk about my polar opposites are Bernard Hopkins and Chad Dawson, because they both had a lot of athletic ability as younger guys coming up. And the difference is one of them just adapted and adjusted. So I get that Triple G's a little older, but what has the fall off really been like for this guy as he's aged? Not much. And we're watching Canelo come off a loss. You can't have 4-1 odds. I bet the draw too. It's probably plus 1,000 just in case. Put $10 on the draw.
Wouldn't that be something? I love it.
It's going to be a close fight. It's not a plus 400 type fight. Take Triple G here.
This is definitely a weekend where I'm definitely more excited for this fight than I am for the UFC. And that hasn't happened a whole lot this year.
Not regularly. No,
right?
no.
I mean,
usually the UFC has the exciting fights. There's a couple bangers coming up. These guys are starting to get in there. Oh, speaking of which, 24th. Hey, here's a little pop quiz. What's Loma's amateur record?
Oh, God. Isn't it like 303 or some nonsense?
396-1.
Okay, yeah. They do it with something ridiculously absurd.
Avenged that one loss 3 times.
That sounds right.
396-1. One of his closest fights came in 2011, the AIBA World Championship prelims. And he lost, or he beat 19-18 a guy named Robson Conceição.
Wow.
Who won a gold medal in 2016. Get there before the wise guys. Okay, this is a 10-1 dog with a gold medal. Now, that same year, Shakur Stevenson won a bronze, a weight class under Conceição. So 10-1, this is another one where the odds are just way off. Stevenson could win. Let's be honest, he's a 10-1 favorite. Or 20-1 favorite. But at plus 10 for a gold medalist, that's naturally bigger than Shakur Stevenson with all the holes we've seen in his game. You pin that to Triple G for $1 and you win 40. 10 wins 400.
I like that.
So just a couple of upsets to look at in the near future. I like Triple G, and watch this Conceição kid. If Shakur ends up taking this fight, there's holes in his game that this guy will exploit. It's an older guy, but looking forward to that one too.
Oh, heck yeah. All right, well, that is going to do it for us for this week. I think we might see the return of Jace Garcia soon. I can't make any promises. I'm not making any threats here, but there is a possibility. That said,
we hope we Garcia then. Hey.
Make sure you follow us on social media at Throwing Jabs. You can also visit clovercrestmedia.com/Throwing Jabs. For Jared Jones, I'm Joe McGuire. We'll catch you next week on Throwing Jabs. Enjoy the fights.
Throwing jabs, always full send. Here we go again. Jared, Joe, and Jay's Clovercrest, top 3 corner man, punching in with a puncher's chance. We find a way to win. The main event, lock it in every Saturday at 10. The overhand is out of hand when it comes to fisticuffs. Slide a hand on the undercard, you'll never see the punch. Uppercut, got you missing weight, feet a stepping late. Keep your guard up, feeling faint from a feint. Take a stand and aid, then retaliate. Put up your duke, stick and move, bob and weave. Don't lose hope against the ropes, there's always an escape. Never stay down. One more round, bells ringing. Counter punch with your chin tucked and go down swinging. We bringing crosses with no worship, hooks with no verses, combinations with no locks. When you feel the flurry, it's curtains. From scrub scraps to fight stats, relax if you want the facts, cause the best combat podcast is throwing jabs.